Hey, I'm Christine Gritmon, and this is Social, the show that I do every week where I interview one of my smart friends about some topic relating to social media, digital marketing, or small business. And today I'm really excited. I have someone who's pretty new in my world, Lisa Johnson of Lisa Johnson Coaching. Which side are you? Here you are. All the way from the UK. I love my UK peeps. You know it. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so glad you're here. I have been doing kind of themed shows this year. I used to not do that, and this year my January theme has really been, I've been having a lot of coaches on because I'm about sort of kicking off the year with empowerment and sort of getting our head straight in our businesses. And so tell us first a little bit about your coaching practice, Lisa Johnson Coaching.
Okay, so Lisa Johnson Coaching started 3 years ago. And the main thing that I do is I'm known as the passive income queen. So I help people make passive income streams into their business. So they're usually already entrepreneurs and they want to scale and they want a bit more freedom. They don't want to work as much. Maybe they have kids like I do. And that's what I do. And it's only been going 3 years, but it's been a wild ride over 3 years.
I love that. I love that so much. And that has helped you as well because you are helping other people with the same thing that you're helping yourself with, which is that passive income. So let's jump in. Define passive income for us, please.
So passive income to me is just no longer trading time for money. It's not magic. It's not just like free money that happens to you when you go to sleep, like lots of people seem to think. It's
not the tooth fairy.
It's not the tooth fairy. There's no magic wands around here. It's just not trading time all the time for money. Because when I first started, that's what I was doing. I was trading time for money. I was coaching people one-to-one, which was great. And I loved the connection. But I was shattered and I hit an income ceiling very quickly. I was like, how am I going to make more money if I don't have any more time?
You're utilizing a limited resource, which is you.
Yeah. Exactly. And if there's only you and you only have so much time, you need to think of different business models that are going to work for you. And for me, it was very obvious which ones were going to work for me.
Now, so let's hear about which ones are working for you. We got Tim Lewis, by the way. Hey, Tim.
The main things that I do are courses. I think courses can work really well for semi-passive memberships. I have a 500-person membership. I do ebooks. I have a little jewelry line on the side that I don't have to touch, but it's got my logo on. So they're the main kind of things I do. I then do other things like group programs and boot camps, but they're a little more semi-passive than passive. But anything that goes from one-to-one to one-to-many is going to make you more money, going to impact more people. So that's the way I go, and that's now what I teach.
I like that, one-to-many. I'm intrigued by this jewelry line because you say that that's pretty hands-off. So I gather you're not sitting there in your workshop physically crafting the jewelry then?
No, it's more like drop shipping. So I have my logo on it. I help design it with a jewelry designer because I wouldn't be able to do that on my own. I'm not that talented. And she designed this amazing jewelry because I found that there was a niche for every time I wanted to give my new clients a gift, I didn't know what to get them. And I wanted something really empowering. With some slogans on that people, that really help female entrepreneurs. And so we designed them. We put them on, it's kind of like on my website, but links to her website. So if anyone buys them, they buy them from her and I just get a cut.
That is a fascinating concept. I never would have thought of that in a million years. How did that even come about?
I'm always looking for more ways that can be passive and that I can make money from. And with things like courses and memberships, you make quite a lot of money in one go. With the drop shipping and things like that, it's a much smaller amount, but you're not doing anything for it. So it's still worth it. But with any passive income, you still have to work a lot up front. All of it's at the beginning. You then reap the reward later on.
Absolutely. Any sort of situation where people say, you don't even really have to do anything. You just need to buy into this thing and it'll just run itself. Which brings me to what a lot of people tend to think of first when they hear the term passive income, which is that sometimes, erroneously, multi-level marketing schemes can present themselves as being sort of a passive recurring income stream. So I'd love it if you could differentiate for us the difference between the things that you are helping your clients with in terms of passive income streams and something like an MLM that people buy into.
Yeah, so if we look at the MLM model, you don't just work up front, you work constantly. And we all know somebody that does MLM. They're constantly in your inbox, they're constantly hustling. The whole point of passive income and passive income is to get away from that hustle, to, disregard the hustle. You don't want to be on all the time. If you're doing MLM, you're on all the time. You're marketing all the time. Let's say we have a course. So I have a 10-month course. And what I do with that is I market it. Now, it's already written, I've already written the PowerPoint slides. I've already written the workbooks. So I can use the same marketing that I used last time on a new audience that I've grown in between to just put out there. I don't have to write any new marketing. I've got the same testimonials, so I can just get that out there. I can then go live once a month for an hour and deliver my live training. It's already done. It's pretty much like verbatim these days that I can deliver it. I've done it so many times, and the workbook is already there. So for a 10-month course, I'm doing 10 hours of work, 2 hours of marketing to be able to make 150K.
That is incredible.
So, thank you.
and it's great that you're able to grow it. So I imagine it's not like you launched it the first time and it did well, then you launched it the second time and it did less well. I imagine it did more well because you had that social proof behind it. So it's just, there's no ceiling to that, really.
No. And each time you do it, you can grow it more. Sometimes I put a cap on things myself. I put a cap on my membership. I sometimes put a cap on my courses because at the beginning, I did them all completely passive. They could just buy it and go and do it. And they'd have no input from me or from anybody else.
Totally hands off. It just ran itself.
Yeah, hands off, which is brilliant for like time and gaining money wise. But if you have any integrity, you want to see your clients do the best that they can do. I know that if I'm there live, they can ask me questions. There's a little bit of accountability there. They're much more likely to get to the end of a course and actually make some money, which is the whole point of it. So I've made everything that I do semi-passive now instead of passive. But still, if you look at the hours, I work generally 24 to 26 hours a month to make around $1 million a year.
That is mind-blowing. Oh, my goodness. And we're going to dig into those finances just a little bit more. But
that's okay.
First, I'd love to hear, so we've talked about the jewelry, we've talked about your courses. Let's hear about those membership programs that you have going on.
Yeah. So I only have one membership. And the reason I started it is because if you think about when you start any business model, you generally start with one-to-one. You then realize that people are asking the same things over and over again. So you can put it into a course of some kind and put that out there. So far, you've got a really high ticket and you've got a mid-tier kind of level, maybe $1,000, $2,000 program. But then what about all the people following you that you've got into your Facebook groups or to your Instagram or wherever you're growing your audience, your email list, who just can't afford those prices? Rather than leave money on the table, scoop them all up into one place. If you have high volume of people, low price ticket, you can make just as much. So I charge £49 a month for my membership, but that's 500 people. So it makes you quite a lot per month.
And what do you give people in your membership? What are they paying that monthly fee for?
So in mine, the main thing they're getting is a training every month from somebody else that's not me.
Wow. So, that's even more passive. That's fantastic. You're actively choosing the people who will bring the most value to them, but that's incredible.
Yeah. And at the beginning, I had to pay those people to come in. So I'd use a share of the money that I'd collected from those to bring somebody that I knew that would give them great value. But now, because it's a group of 500 amazing buyers, people are fighting to go in there and, train those people. So it's even more passive and it's even more revenue.
That is incredible.
I do other things. Like I'm in there pretty much most days, answering a few questions in the Facebook group. But I also do something called Wind Down Friday. So every Friday evening, tonight in a couple of hours, I will be there with a glass of wine on Facebook with all of them, a bit like after work drinks. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you miss that. You get that loneliness. And so we all get together, we have a chat for an hour, and I tell them what I've learned during my week, wherever I am in the world.
Oh my goodness! I wish I had thought of that in advance. I would have shown up with on this live stream with a glass of wine. I mean, it's noon here, but that's okay. It's Friday.
It's somewhere, right?
It's Friday. And by the way, my friend George Demonis points out it's actually pronounced passive flincome because Pat Flynn.
Yeah, we should call it that, shouldn't we?
Pat Flynn is big on the passive income scene.
Yes, I love his book.
However, I gotta say, I think I'm more in your line there. I feel a little intimidated when I listen to Pat's podcast. But I would love to hear from you. how you got into this, because you've been at this, as you said, you're making an incredible amount of money. Your programs are growing, not shrinking. Really, that ceiling is just completely gone for how much you can grow it, depending on how much you want to put into it. But this wasn't always your life. In fact, this wasn't your life until a few years ago. So let's talk about your journey to becoming the passive income queen.
Yeah, and what a journey it has been. So I grew up like in a council house in England, which I think you guys call welfare. Mm-hmm. So like quite poor. And so I didn't grow up really knowing any entrepreneurs. And my money mindset was really bad. So I thought that people with money were bad people just because of where I grew up. And I thought that people like me didn't make anything like 30 grand a year, let alone more than that.
And there's probably a scarcity mindset too, in terms of what can I do rather than what do I want to do, which also limits that mindset.
Massively. So I'd just be doing anything I could get my hands on. So started as an office junior and then went through a series of jobs until I actually became eventually a lawyer and investment banker.
Wow.
Climbing way up, which
those
is not
are definitely
bad.
Financially good areas.
They were okay. I never earned more than six figures in any of them. But I was, lucky to be there, or so I thought, because all of my family and friends said I was lucky to be there. I assumed I was. But I was working 80-hour weeks.
Oof.
So it's not that lucky, for what I was getting. And then I unexpectedly fell pregnant with twins. And when they were 5 months old, I had to go back to work because I had to earn money. So I went back to work. I was a single parent very quickly after. And felt very trapped. I wasn't seeing them. I was working from 6 a.m. till like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and I never saw them. Mm-hmm. So I had to think, how can I rewrite this story? Because this isn't going to be my life anymore, the one I thought it was going to be. So I took a really easy PA job right near my house where I could put them to bed, I could see them in the morning, but it meant dropping to a third of my income. And it put me 30,000 in debt because I was still living the same lifestyle.
That is incredible. That's awful. Yeah. Wow.
And that was 5 years ago, so it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And then while I was there, I got bored. And so thought, you know what, I'm going to start a business. I knew nothing about business. Let's start a business.
Why not? Just do it. So how did that thought even get into your head of, I'm just going to start a business?
Playing on the internet, which as a PA, you spend a lot of your life doing. Yeah. So I'm playing on the internet and I see other people talking about businesses and what businesses they have. And I stumbled upon somebody asking for a wedding planner. And I thought I'd be good at that. I'm really organised. I think I could do it. And it sounds fun. And there's got to be cake involved and glamour. So I was like, let's do that. So started up this business as a wedding planner. And in the first year, it was an epic failure. I had 13 full planning weddings. And at the end of the year, I was making £1.15 an hour.
Oh, my goodness.
We worked out. Yeah. So couldn't leave my 9 to 5. Now I just had this expensive hobby on the side and toddler twins. And it was like not working for me. So I came to this junction when I was like, I either have to get more in debt and get a business coach and work out what the hell I'm doing, these foundations that I knew nothing about. Mm-hmm. Or I just have to accept that this is my life now. I'm going to be in a 9 to 5. I'm not going to be able to spend. It's going to be tricky. And if you're 30,000 in debt, why not be 40,000 in debt? Don't do that at home. So I chucked some money at it, got a business coach who taught me the foundations.
How did you find your business coach?
It was quite easy for me because in the UK, most of the business coaches were woo-woo, if you like, talk about manifesting, law of attraction, all of those kind of things. I'm not into any of that. So it was quite easy to just narrow it down to like the 3 that aren't and choose one of those. And she was in the wedding industry.
Oh, perfect.
So it was perfect. So she taught me all of these different things about ideal client, money mindset. I suddenly realized why I wasn't making any money because I still had the mindset from when I'd been growing up in this council house and had no money. So I turned things around, rebranded, really niched to really cool Shoreditch brides who wanted like a warehouse wedding, a bit darker than your average. And it worked. 5 months later, we got an ideal client. They had a big budget. And then 3 months after that, we were fully booked for a year and a half. And we very quickly became known as the biggest UK urban wedding company.
That is mind-blowing. So wait, to back up just a tiny bit, you mentioned about how it there was a moment that unlocked your money mindset. What in particular what in particular was your blockage that you just cleared right out?
There were two. My money story, I hadn't really ever thought about my money story and what it meant. And once I did, and I realized the patterns and the things that I've been doing and hearing from my parents and people around me, doesn't grow on trees. You have to work really hard for money. All of these blocks came up. I didn't want to work really hard. I didn't want to work all the hours. I wanted to see my kids. All of these things. And I also realized that I had been thinking of, I got bullied when I was younger at school because I got a scholarship to a private school, like a boarding school. And I came from a poor background, so I was just bullied mercilessly. So in my head, rich people were bad people. And while I was still thinking that, I was never going to make myself rich.
Nope.
Because I believed that to be true. So it took a lot of mindset work. I did like 6 months to a year of full-on mindset work before I started very quickly went over the six-figure level. And that's how I started coaching. So then people started asking me, how have you done this? This was like 3.5 years ago. How have you managed to make this wedding business so successful? So I started telling them what I'd done and explaining it in a non-jargony way, because I felt that all business coaches used really complex language that I didn't understand. So I just started teaching them, and they started making a lot of money. And I thought, I think there's more money in this and more passion in this than there is in the wedding planning. So started up Lisa Johnson Coaching, and it went from there. And within a year, my husband had to leave his 9 to 5 and come work for me. And it just took off.
That is incredible. I love that. When you started your coaching practice, were you specialized in wedding and event planners, or was it general from the start?
No, it's wedding and event planners. And then it was wedding people in general, like creative. And then it was like all business, all female entrepreneurs. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew from there.
That's wonderful. And what does your husband do for the business?
Now, he was in my business. And then he realized, after writing my sales pages and my website copy, people started asking me, who's doing this? Like, you're selling out. So I said, my husband is. He's now left me, and he started his own copywriting business. In the last 3 months. So I'm like, great.
That's incredible. Though at the same time, I have to point out, he's trading time for money.
Yeah, I know. I keep telling him, you're going to need to do a course at some point.
Of course. Of course. Haha.
But he's kind of the stay-at-home dad as well. So he deals with all the kid stuff because I'm often flying somewhere to do a talk. So, yeah, he gets to do all of that. He cooks and does all of that kind of stuff. So
I understand that completely. I also have a husband who is really, he has to be the primary parent a lot of times because he's married to an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think that's life, isn't it? And they deal with it really well.
They do. God bless those good men. So when people come to you, and as a coaching, when coaching clients come to you,
yeah,
is passive income what you lead all of them to, or do you help some of them with just how to gain more freedom in their own existing businesses?
Yeah, more so the passive income these days, but it did start off with me helping other people just with whatever they wanted, whether they wanted more freedom, they wanted to know how to deal with their time better, any of those things. But now generally people come to me because they want to add passive income streams in. And I have a system that I use that I created called the cash system that helps them put those things into play.
Oh, I love that. And I imagine cash is an acronym, right?
It's an acronym. It's not a very good one because there's 2 S's in the cash that I use because I couldn't fit it into just CASH.
That just makes it distinctive. Anyway. That makes it distinctive.
We're having it. So yeah, it's all about, C is the customer, the client, really knowing who you want to serve before you think about, do I want a membership? Do I want a course? Do I want an ebook? Do I want a drop ship? None of those things matter until you know who you want to help. So it's working out that ideal client, just like you would for any other part of your business. The A is for audience. Without an audience, you can't make passive income. And yet lots and lots of people teach, get a course out there. I'll teach you how to do a course. If you've got no audience, you may as well not bother. So
I have launched 2 failed e-courses. People tell me all the time, you should do a course. And I said, I tried. However, this is the year that I'm going to succeed with it because now I kind of know the right order to do things. I've been studying up. And now I know you, so that'll be even better.
It'll be easier. But yeah, and it's not just about growing that audience somewhere where you can put them all, like a Facebook group or wherever. It's about nurturing them properly so that they do become super fans, as Pat Flynn would say. It's about having a loyal audience who will buy from you over and over again. It's much easier to sell to somebody twice than it is to keep finding new audiences all the time. The first S is about systems and structures. How are you going to deliver whatever it is you want to deliver? Do you like audio? Do you like video? And where are you going to put it? And there are so many places you can these days, even plugins, for your website to have a membership. So it's easier than it's ever been. The second S is about selling. And this is where most people fall down. So they will have a great audience. They will have a great service. And then they launch it by going into their Facebook group and going, here is a thing that I have. And, there's a launch process. We can see it out there by watching everybody else up there that's doing great launches. So it's a 6 to 12 week process that I teach people how to do, how to launch. And then the H is about happiness, because you need to keep your membership people happy so that they stay in. It's about retention, and it's about remarketing over and over again, not just doing it once, because you don't want to put all that work in at the beginning, because it is hard work at the beginning, growing that audience and writing these courses. If you're only then going to make money from it once, you need to do it over and over and over again.
I really like that. And that's the really important part, because a lot of people also, they're thinking about one-offs. They're thinking, okay, I'll do this thing and I'll put it out there and it'll just keep bringing in recurring income for me. And you're saying that's not how it works. You have to put the pre-work in. You have to make sure it's set up for success, and then you have to do it again and have it keep growing.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can use the same marketing each time, which is brilliant, but the one thing you're going to have to consistently do, and you can do this kind of passively, is grow the audience more, because you're always going to need more people coming in through that funnel, into your world.
And what are some ways to grow an audience?
So the best and easiest way is to use a freebie nurture sequence. We've all seen those out there, but they work, and that's why people use them, because people get a little bit of an idea of how you explain things, how you teach things. Challenges work really well. Facebook ads, I've not used Facebook ads yet. I had a bad experience in the first year of my business where I lost £27,000 to a Facebook ads manager.
Oh no!
And it put me off for ages. So I've grown my entire business organically up until this month, where I've started playing with some Facebook ads. So we'll see. I know other people have really good success rates with getting people into groups and into their email list with ads. So that is a way now that I'm scaling that I will use. But up to now, I've just helped people in other groups. I've done things like this to grow my audience. I've spoken on stages, because that always gets more people into your audience. So there's lots of things, lots of ways you can do it.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm really excited now.
Yay,
to get started on some passive income streams. I've been wanting to relaunch the courses that I failed at launching.
At least what you know. I love that you know that it isn't the course that's bad. See, lots of people go, oh, my course, nobody wanted it. And it's just because they haven't got the audience or they haven't launched properly. And normally the courses are really good. So it's cool that you know that.
That's really what it is. I mean, what do you think are some key things that people need to keep in mind when launching a course? They need to build the audience first, of course. Yeah. But what are some key things that people get wrong with that?
I think that there's a couple of things. With building an audience, you can show all the expertise you like. People want community. They want other people who are on the same path as them. And they also want to know you, but like the real you. Not that I'm here being professional teaching you, but just being the real you. And they will resonate with the things you go through. So I talk about like my bullying story. I talk about where I grew up. I talk about the things I do with my kids, because those things are why people buy from me. People buy from people they like. We know that now, and that they trust. So they have to see who you are to be able to do that. So when building the audience, I see a lot of people get that bit wrong. And then when it comes to launching, the launches are too short. So they'll just do a webinar, but they haven't warmed up their audience in any way with anything like, let's say, a challenge or a boot camp or just something so that people can see how you teach. It's much more likely if you give them a process that they follow, that the next stage in that process is logically going to be to buy your product.
I love that. And that doesn't sound terribly passive, but that's the point of proper passive income that will be sustainable, which is that you put in the work on the front end, And then it
Yeah.
keeps giving back to you exponentially.
Absolutely, because let's say you mark it that way and you spend 2 weeks doing a challenge and you spend another week on launch, doing a masterclass and having a cart open phase. That's going to take you 3 weeks of, it doesn't have to be hard work. I do it when I'm on holiday usually, because I prep everything beforehand and I want to be like all chill while I'm launching. So I go away and do it. So it doesn't have to be massively hard, but it is the hardest bit of the work. But then you've got 10 months of nothing.
I love that. Well, that's fantastic. Lisa, speaking of building your audience, tell my audience where they can find you.
They can find me in my Facebook group, which is called The Fabulous 5%.
The Fabulous 5%. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and it's called that because only 5% of businesses actually become sustainable.
Wow. So they're self-identifying that they're going to be in that 5% by joining your group. I love that. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Lisa Johnson of Lisa Johnson Coaching, the passive income queen. Again, I'm Christine Gritmon. I do this show every week where I interview smart friends about social media or small business. And I hope you join me again next week. Bye.